so welcome everyone. This is a night of storytelling for advocacy. So I am so excited to have you in the space. And like I said before, please, please, please feel free to have snacks, drink, dinner, fidget toys, coloring books, whatever you need in the space to be able to engage with us tonight. So my name is Yukio Ida, and I'm the Associate Director of Parent Leadership and Family Engagement at the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. And I am also the State Director for PLTI, the Parent Leadership Training Institute. I see some familiar faces and some names on this list, so welcome everyone. Thank you so much for being here. So Jen and Jovi, would you like to just introduce yourselves as partners? And I think Dr. V, I think you are in the space as well. I would love to have you all come on and introduce yourselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Joviana Morales. I am one of the bilingual consultants at CPAC. I am excited for this session tonight. Thank you, Yukio, for putting on a really good session for everyone, and I'll pass it on to Jen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen Lucier from CPAC, and we're Connecticut's Parent Training Information Center. And we are also doing this presentation tonight in partnership with the Connecticut Family School Partnerships, which is our statewide family engagement center. And I'll let Dr. B introduce herself since she joined us.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you everyone for being here and all of our partners. My name is Dr. Veronica Marion, and I am the current director of Connecticut Statewide Family Engagement Center. And we are just thrilled to partner with you to bring this session this evening. So tonight I am a learner. I am glad to be in this spot. I have a granddaughter who has a 504 and she has sickle cell. So often when I come to these sessions, I come with that lens and that in my heart and in my head. So thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And so there's a lot of us in this space tonight, and I would love to just hear from you, your name and the community that you are from. And there's 2 pages of us, so I can't get through everyone, but I would love for you to put it in the chat if you are able to let us know where you are zooming in from. And I'll start. Great. All right. So we've got some Danbury, East Hartford, Bethel, Brookfield, Bridgeport, Suffield, all sorts of places, Norwalk, Middletown, Windsor, West Hartford, Middletown. Oh, thank you. Alabama. We've got someone from Alabama. Welcome to Connecticut. Stonington. I don't know how you found out about us in Alabama, but glad you are here. Newington. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time this evening to be in this space. Let me just share the agenda for tonight. So we'll do a little bit of introduction around the commission that I work for, Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, and just share a little bit about us. And I'll get into it, right? I'll get into how a bill becomes a law. And here in Connecticut, legislative session is in full swing. There's already been public hearings, listening sessions, right? Opportunities for community to come to the legislative building, either in person or via Zoom, to be able to share different stories. And I'll walk through some of the logistics of testifying at public hearings. And then we'll get into story time, right? How do you craft your story to be able to get your experiences across so that you can influence and impact certain bills before they become a law. And then we'll do a little bit, if we have time, a little bit of practice time. All right. So then let's see. Next up. All right. So thank you again for our partners, CPAC and the Connecticut Family School Partnership for putting this together and offering the support and resources to be able to offer Spanish interpretation as well as having our slides in both languages. And that does not come cheap. But we want to make sure that everyone has this information because information is knowledge and power in this space. All right. And I'm taking a pause here because I realize that when I am really excited about something, I tend to talk really fast, right? And also being from the New England area where we walk fast and talk fast, I have to remind myself to bring it down a little bit because our wonderful interpreters are doing this in real time. And they don't have a script that they are working off of. They are just taking what I am saying and then immediately interpreting it into Spanish. So I am going to have to remind myself multiple times that I have to take it slow, so that we can all understand each other and understand the information that is being shared. And so if I ask for new voices in the space, I welcome that. But also please keep in mind that when you speak and share in the large group, to do it a little slower than what you are used to talking in real life. Okay, so with that reminder, I am going to go through a lot of information first. And please, please, please feel free to put anything in the chat. Jovi and Jen will help me keep an eye on it. And if any questions come up, they can bring it forward and we can talk about it. So please keep the chat live and active. And I also love it when you put up all the reactions so that I know that, you're getting it or you're laughing at my corny jokes or you've got some wondering. So please feel free to use any and all of those functions. All right. So about the place that I work, right? The Connecticut General Assembly's Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity. This is our mission right here. It's to inform and engage policymakers about constituent needs. So that means that I take what you are sharing here and I get to elevate that, right? And inform our policymakers of what you as constituents are saying are the needs. We are also nonpartisan, right? We rely heavily on data and making sure that we are taking a cross-cultural approach to policy innovation. And we also, because we are this big intersectional commission, we work to eliminate disparities by making sure to identify different opportunities, building connection with our community members in spaces like this, and using all of that to promote change. So things like this, what we're doing tonight, is the mission of our commission. So again, thank you so much for being here and really appreciate you taking time in the evening on a very cold night where you could just as easily be like in bed all cuddled already. All right, so this is also our vision. And we serve the legislature and you, the people, by making sure to promote best practices in driving sound policy, providing a source of trusted information, and that includes lived experiences from you, breaking barriers, bridging communities, and promoting different opportunities. And overall, we are here to help build a more equitable and accessible state for all residents in future generations. So, this is what we are here to do today so that you as community members can comfortably and confidently, interact and bring forth your needs, your interests, your experiences to the legislature. So that's what we are here to do. All right. So far, any questions about the commission and what we do? And I also have some commission colleagues in the space as well. Not to put you on the spot, but we have our women's subcommission member. Where are you? Rosemary and Denise, who is the African American subcommission policy lead. So if you can just say hello, come off mute if you can.
Hi.
Hi,
Thank-
everyone. Looking forward to this.
So we've got a lot of subcommissions, and even though they are labeled, right, women's subcommission, African American subcommission, there are so many things that intersect because at the end of the day, we are all community members and constituents, and we're not labeled by just one identity. So we work together on various things. All right. Let me go back. Thank you, Denise and Rosemary. Let me go back to the slides. Okay. So I am also in charge of implementing Parent Leadership Training Institute and Children's Leadership Training Institute. Raise your hands or put in the chat if you are an alumni or current cohort member, or if you have heard of PLTI. Oh, okay, I see a hand. Thank you. Hi, Rowena. Let's see. Bridgeport alum. All right. Thank you so much. And many friends that have graduated from the program. So here I am, and I'm going to share with you what Parent Leadership Training Institute is all about. So it's a family civics initiative of the CWCSEO, and it really is a wonderful opportunity to build the capacity as a whole family. It has a children's leadership training institute, which, again, like just embraces that multi-generational approach to civics by providing space for the children of the parents that are taking PLTI. And they both have, right, a parallel and a mirror curriculum. So what we as parents or adults discuss in the PLTI space, the kids are also discussing in their Children's Leadership Training Institute space, but from like a literacy-based approach, because they use books all the time and in a really age-appropriate way, catered to the needs of all the kids in that space. So they provide a unique opportunity for families to engage together in civic education. And it really creates this wonderful dynamic where as a family, you can start doing things like volunteering, providing feedback on different surveys as a family, showing up at the LOB, at the Legislative Office Building, right, to give testimony as a family. And even though PLTI is a family civics initiative, the data shows really that participants in this initiative take action not only to elevate their understanding of civics, but they take action in areas of improving their mental health, their physical health, their emotional health, their family economic situation by, right, going back for more schooling or advancing in their careers. They also take action to just in general, like better their family situation, whether it's housing related, medicine, right? All these different areas. So yes, it's a family civics initiative. And in the end of it all, it really is a whole and holistic approach to bettering yourself for your children and better outcomes for your children and your community. So it's, if it's in your community, please, please, please apply for it in the next round. And here are some of the communities that it is in. Currently, it's in these 8 communities. Some are in person, some are hybrid. Some sites have Children's Leadership Training Institute. Some do not, but they do offer childcare for the parents that are in the initiative. All right. Are there any questions so far in the chat?
No, we'll let you know though if they do.
Oh, yes. And thank you for reminding me to slow down when I say the acronyms. All right. I will keep that in mind. Thank you for the reminder. It's been a minute since I've done a bilingual webinar. So thank you. Okay. All right. So show of hands in this space, right? Who can share with me what civic engagement means? What is civic engagement? This is a crowd, a tough crowd. What is civic engagement? There is no wrong answers. Please feel free to come off mute. Oh, I see in the chat. Thank you. The ways individuals participate in the communities to make a difference in society. Great, thank you. So what are some of those ways that you can participate? Oh, and Jackie, I see your heart. Anyone have examples of different civic action? Ooh, attend a Board of Ed meeting, engage with community, ways to learn, voting, yes. Denise, I see that you've come off mute.
Volunteering.
Volunteering, yes, I see community involvement, attending city council meetings, public service. Yes, thank you for throwing all this in the chat. Did someone just come off camera? Oh, wait. Pilar, is that you? Did you want to say something?
Hi, no, I was just saying like volunteering, working in the community and helping, in my case, families understand
Oh,
that their voice counts and that they can, they can advocate for what
oh
they
no, I can't
believe.
hear you.
You can't hear me? Oh,
I can hear you.
okay. I don't know. I
Yukio, do you
haven't
have a
heard this.
language chosen?
I do have the, oh,
No,
yes.
probably. Do I have it?
Did you
Uh,
select your language? I have
I
English
don't think
selected.
I
Okay,
did.
so maybe it was just me. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
All right. So if you can just repeat that again one more time.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I'm saying volunteering is a big part and working with the community, helping parents understand that they have a voice to advocate for their kids. Same as students, they have a voice. So just,
Yes.
doing that in the community, that's good.
Yeah. Thank you so much, right? So civic engagement, right? The ways in which citizens participate in life of a community in order to improve conditions for others or to help shape the community's future. So you being in the space, you're taking some civic action, right? You showing up to a Board of Ed meeting, similar thing, civic engagement. All right, then is there a difference between civic engagement and advocacy? Is there a difference between civic engagement and advocacy? Any thoughts around that? Okay, so Carolina, thank you again for putting it in the chat. Raising awareness about issues. And sometimes it looks like things like organizing protests. Right? Anyone else? What are some ways that you can advocate for something? Okay, I see advocacy is more specific towards an issue, right? Speaking in favor or against an issue, right? Yeah, so again, it's an action, right? Action taken supporting a cause or you're pleading for a cause and having your voice heard and considered when decision makers are looking at their policy and making decisions around that, right? And just having your voice heard in various ways. So today, right, our session is called Storytelling for Advocacy because we are going to be using our voice and our experiences to advocate for something. All right. Who here has a really good understanding of how a bill becomes a law?
I remember Schoolhouse
I
Rock.
was laughing. Am I saying I don't Kajaha? Is that how I say your name? From Alabama? Kajaha? Um, how does a bill
It's
become a law?
Kadeja. I'm sorry.
Kadeja, thank you. Are you
I'm,
familiar with how a bill becomes a law?
oh, you put me on the spot. Okay. Um, n yes and
It's
no.
okay to say
Y-
no. Okay.
Yes and no. If you could brush me up a little bit on how
Sure.
it works, yeah.
That is great segue. Thanks, Kadeja.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So this is what it's like in Connecticut, right? First, a bill is introduced in a committee. And let me tell you, there's like 20 some committees in Connecticut. And these committees are anything from, right? Education, children, special education, which is a new committee this year. Let's see, higher ed, appropriation. There's a huge list of them, right? So there are many committees, and within each of the committee, different bills are introduced. And again, this is just like the very bare minimum 101 how a bill becomes a law, because I'm going to tell you slightly more variation to this. But we're going to go with the very basic how a bill becomes a law. Step 2, a bill is drafted into legal language, and then it is posted on the Connecticut General Assembly's website. Okay, where you can access that information, where you're able to read through the actual language. And then step 3, right after a bill is in that like legal language, they set the public hearings. That's where you can come in to offer your support, different solutions, recommendations that may improve that bill. Okay, so step 3, the public hearing. This is where you're going to show up, right? And then next comes the committee voting on the bill. And then it is sent to the House or the Senate floor to get more votes. Right? Once that bill comes to the House and Senate, they vote. And in each of the House and Senate, it has to be voted majority for the bill to then go to the governor. And then very last step is the governor signs the bill into law. So this is the basic progression of how a bill becomes a law. But there are times where, like in step 4, right, it might not get voted to be sent to the House or Senate floor. It might die. And then next session, you might have to start all over again, right? Or it gets to number 5, and then it doesn't pass to go on to the governor, in which case it'll get kicked back again through the cycle, right? And the governor can also veto it in step 6. So, but this is just the basic progression of how a bill becomes a law. So far, so good. Any questions in the chat?
So far, so good.
All right, a bill is just a bill. And yes, please remember the Schoolhouse Rocks video. That is a great video. We learned a lot of things back when we were young. All right, thank you. Okay, so step 3 is where we're at, right? The storytelling section. Okay. In a raise of hands, whether through the reaction buttons or some sort of a way to indicate if you have done some sort of public hearing in the past, whether it's at the local Board of Ed, whether it's at the town council side meeting, or at the legislative office building, like at the state level. And maybe some of you have even gone federal. All right.
We have some raised hands.
Got some raised hands, yes. And in the chat, I see too, local city council and written testimony for state level. So some of you have experience in this space. Thank you so much, right? And thank you for continuing to learn, right? And do more for this year. And there's a lot happening already at the state level. All right, so public hearing and testimony. Okay. This is an opportunity, right? This is the one, not the only spot, but this is a very important place where you get to share your lived experiences and weigh in on an issue or weigh in on a bill, you know, to maybe impact change in wording, or just to show your support for it, right? And this is the place where you get to communicate with the legislature, right? This is your opportunity. And what's really cool about it is that if you submit your written testimony, it becomes a part, right, of Connecticut history because they have to put it on record. And for those of you that show up to verbally share a testimony, you're forever on YouTube, right? So that's also on record too. So either way, you and your words are a part of Connecticut history. So just think about that, right? That's great. That's an amazing opportunity to be a part of Connecticut. All right. So now we're going to get into some of the logistics of public hearing and testimony. So when you talk about public hearing and testimony, there's 2 different ways that you can do it, or well, maybe 2.5, right? You can submit your written testimony, right? You can type something out and submit it, and you don't need to, you know, do anything further. Or you can provide verbal testimony in person at a committee meeting, or you can provide verbal testimony via Zoom, right? You can, you know, call in from wherever you are at the public hearings. So those are the different ways, right? Written testimony, verbal testimony, in person and location, or you can call in from somewhere else to provide that verbal testimony. When it comes to written testimony, you can go to the committee public hearing agendas, and I'll show you where you can find this on the CGA website. But this agenda comes up, and along the top, there's different links that you can click on. And you can click on Submit Written Testimony, and then this is the page that you will see, okay? You can submit things anonymously if you would like by putting anonymous, but you should just put your name down, right? They might reach out to you and say, hey, you know what? We'd love to hear more. What do you mean by this? It might connect, right? It might create that connection for you to further provide input. And then there's a way to, right, attach any of the testimony that you wrote and click submit, and then it will get to the committee. And you can also indicate things like, yes, I support this bill, I oppose it, or here are just my comments around this issue. Okay, so let me go to the website and just quickly show you how you can navigate to that. All right. On the phone, it might look a little bit different, but if you're on a web browser, this is the Connecticut General Assembly website. Along here is where you can find a lot of the information at the top. So the second tab in is the committees tab. And these are all the different committees that exist. So you have children, right? Education here. There's housing. They had a hearing today for housing. Special education is over here. But really, at the end of the day, a lot of these impact families. So just click on any of them. So let's go with education. In this committee membership, this is where you can find who is on this committee and making decisions about education, right? It's a big long list. And then over here, right, let me close this window, or let me close this tab. There's a public hearing section right here. So if you click on public hearing agenda, you will see an agenda for the 19th, which is this week. Right. And here are the links to be able to submit your written testimony, right? This is the link that pops up. Okay. And these are all the different bills that will be reviewed at the time. There's also a YouTube link so that you can watch the committee meeting, right? And then there's also a section about registering to speak, okay, which we'll get to in a minute. So far, so good? Oh, thank you, Jen. Tomorrow's the Education Committee meeting and hearing for the public. Yes, public testimony. Thank you, Jen, for putting it out there. All right. All right, I see the thumbs up. Thanks, people, for reacting. Okay, so then what's next? I'm going to go back. Okay, so written testimony, not that many steps, right? You write your thing, you use the link to submit, okay, and then you're done. But when it comes to verbal testimony, remember you have two different options, right? You can either do it in person at the LOB, the Legislative Office Building, or you can do it through Zoom. Okay, so similar, right? Go to the public hearing agenda and then click register to speak. And then when you do that, this new page comes up. It's like a Zoom registration link where you can put your name, your email, your city. Further down this registration, there is an opportunity for you to sign up to do the verbal testimony in person, or you can do it remotely. So you have to choose one or the other. Okay. So when you go through the verbal testimony and you do a remote, right? You choose the Zoom option. You're going to be put in a waiting room until your name is called. And once you're called, make sure you unmute before speaking. It's a lot. You're nervous, there's a lot to navigate. And on top of managing some of the Zoom, each speaker is only given 3 minutes to testify. So you need to make sure that what you have prepared fits in the 3 minutes, because they're going to say, please wrap up. Your 3 minutes is up. And even if you haven't finished, you'll have to stop, And if you go in person, same thing. Each speaker is only given 3 minutes. Okay. But when your name is called, there is a designated area and a table where community members, right, sit to use the microphone to share the testimony. Okay. So it's a little bit, and not a little bit, it's still a little nerve-wracking because you're trying to manage the microphone and the time, but that's how you do it in person. Okay. Additional tips for doing your verbal testimony, right? It's all about preparation. It is all about preparation. So write it all out, practice your testimony so that it's 3 minutes or less. Sometimes the committee will give you like a 30-second warning. Sometimes they won't. They'll just say time is up. Okay. So it's really helpful if you also just bring your cell phone with you so that you can start your own timer and gauge yourself. Okay. So again, this 3 minutes is pretty firm. All right. And then you can email your verbal testimony too to the committee so that they have it on record as well, especially if you did not get to share your full, right, testimony. Always, always, always submit it as well, right, through that link. Okay. And for all the ways of testifying, right, make sure you include your name and the town you reside in, right, because your legislator, right, your town representative or your area's representative is really the one that's looking out for your interest first and foremost, but they can also pass it along to different people on different committees. Make sure you address the committee chairs and members. Write the bill number and title so that it is clear which bill you are writing about. And state your position. Are you in support of it? Are you looking for different, additions to it? Are you providing different solutions and recommendations, and why? Right? All right, so let me get off screen. Questions, concerns? All this new, not new?
I have a question, Yukio.
Yes, Jen.
So what if a parent was to, or a person, anybody was to show up at a hearing and they did not register ahead of time to speak? Will they be given an opportunity, or what are their options?
They could, yes. And so I'll give you an example though for some of the more busy committees. Like today, housing had a public hearing. They had a list of 200 plus people who registered. So if you show up expecting to be able to verbally testify, there's a line of 200 some people ahead of you already. So as soon as you know that there is a public hearing on a bill, through the committee that you are interested in, sign up for it. Hold that spot. It's a lot to keep track of, but we got to do it, right? And I can try to show you different ways of tracking your bills, maybe at another time, but there are ways to do it. Yeah, Robert, 200 plus people. Yes, 3 minutes. Yep, them's the rules. They did get to share 3 minutes or less, right? It's a lot of people. And so that's why even, um, that's why even if you show up to do it verbally, you want to make sure that you submit something, in the written format. And maybe Rosemary and Denise, if you can share a little bit more, if there's different ways or different ways that committees might approach, right, people showing up without having registered.
I could mention that every committee works differently, unfortunately. So they have different rules, believe it or not. So some committees will take in walk-ins, but it all depends, like Yukio was mentioning, it really all depends how busy the day is, what's happening. So it doesn't guarantee if you just show up that you're gonna be heard, but you could still submit written testimony, even the day after. So that could be on file. So always remember that even if your voice was not heard there, you could still be heard via written testimony.
Great, thank you, Rosemary. Denise?
Yeah, no, I was gonna agree with Mary, with Rosemary, same thing. But then too, if you just show up and you've got 200 plus people in front of you, sometimes you might decide, oh, I'm not gonna stick around and wait because we're gonna go way into the midnight. So you might decide that you don't want to testify verbally after all. But like she said, just submit it. You can submit it the day after and they'll get it. They'll see it.
All right, and Michelle has a question. How long are public hearings open or available for us to share our comments? If you chicken out and want to submit something in writing versus in person, is it available through the end of the day? Is there a cutoff for submission? These are good questions.
I mean, I know there's been occasions, like I said, the committees are different. Each committee works differently. There are committees that will take written testimony even up to a week later. So, and I only say that because I remember one year we forgot a bill that went through and we wanted to submit some written testimony and we were able to do so. And we just did it, through the website, so.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so there's different options and, submit anyways. Right, or try to submit through some of those, different links and stuff. Or you can also, yeah, Jen, I was going to say that you can also send individual emails, right, to your own representative, right, and say, hey, I know that you might not be on this committee, but I encourage you to share this with, you know, your colleagues on whatever committee that you are interested in, right? And they might be able to pass it through that way as well. So, there's different options. All right, any other questions?
I just want to mention, based on one of the questions here in the chat, that you could also always make sure that even if you register to do verbal testimony, that you submit a written testimony as well. You should always do both. So even if you register and you're going to do it in person, please submit a written testimony. I noticed someone here asked, what if you chicken out? Well, guess what? If you submitted your written testimony, you don't need to worry, because it's already there.
Yes, thank you.
And to piggyback up what Rosemary said, you submit because you're only given 3 minutes, and that 3 minutes are going to be gone. And if you're really passionate about what you're saying, you got that only 3 minutes, but you have the full written testimony, so you can go into detail what you really want to get into, but you only have 3 minutes. So that's why it's good to have that written testimony as well.
Yeah, there's no time limit or word limit on a written testimony. So, right, you can make it as long as you want it to be. All right. Is there a confirmation that the submission was received if sent electronically or written? Denise, I see you nodding.
Yeah, you'll get a written confirmation saying that your testimony was submitted and received.
Thank you.
And also let you know that everything that you've written will be available to everyone, so.
Yes, it's public record. It's Connecticut history.
Yep.
Yeah, if you Google your name, that might pop up, right? And look at your civic engagement and actions that you're taking. That you can tell to your grandkids.
You
All
know,
right.
you also review others' written testimony as well. So if you go back to that page, you can see what others have written about, what their testimony is all about as well.
Here, maybe the housing one has. Oh no, not this one. When you go to housing, because they had agenda, there's testimony here. And you can look at, right, who has submitted. These are the written submissions. And if you click on it, you can see what they have submitted. And you can base, you can see what other people are saying about it. You can get a sense into what, other community members are looking for or supporting. If you click here, then you can see the speaker order of who registered. So there's different ways that you can search other people's testimony too and look at it. All right. All right. So you can, yeah, you can see who is opposing as well. Yes. Thank you. Yes. All right. All right. How are we feeling? Do we need a little stretch break? We're good. All right. Then let's get into that storytelling. All right. What's a story? And what's the benefit of telling your story? And what is the benefit of hearing someone else's story? Why is storytelling important? All right, you can put it in the chat. You can come off mute.
Well, I'll say what I like about hearing stories, you get to feel the passion, behind their stories. Because people are so passionate about what they're talking about. And then, it comes through. So the legislators really get to see and how you're feeling about an issue.
Right, yeah. Right, they see the individual, right, and hear that individual's story. It makes those personal connections. Yeah, there might be something real that they can connect with. Um, lived experiences, right, that might be shared with you and community members, legislators, whoever it is that you are telling the story to. And it really does, right, start to humanize things. And Carolina, I see that it says it is a testimony and it builds emotional connections and inspires action, right? That is what we want. That really is what we want. So, how do we build our stories, right? How do we craft something that takes your personal lived experience, your history, all of that, and submitting it through public testimony? All right. So let's talk a little bit about storytelling and the different sections of storytelling. So this is based on Marshall Gantz's public narrative framework, where you start with the story of self or your family, right? Why is this issue or policy important to you or and your family, right? Why specifically is it important to me? Moving on, right? Story of us and community. How does this issue that impacts me personally, how does it connect to and impact the larger community It's not just about me, right? There's so many other people in our community with similar stories, with similar experiences, with similar challenges. All right? And in the end, right? What am I asking the people to do that are listening to my story? What decision or action am I asking people to take now? Right? It really helps set up, right, the impact on me and then some of the collective. And then what am I asking you, legislators, to do with that information? So, story of self, right? It's to share your personal story and the why, right? And connecting with your listeners. So you can talk about things like what challenges or barriers did you face? What decision did you make? And what happened as a result of your decision? So, childcare is an issue, right? That's an issue for a lot of families, right? And so for me, when I was an educator, a high school teacher, right? I was working, but my pay, all my pay, and then some went to childcare. So, do I quit my job and stay at home? But then that doesn't allow me to progress and grow in my career, right? But if I continue my career, there's that like what happened, right? Um and so I ended up staying home, right? I could no longer really teach because all my pay was going to childcare and all the headaches that come with, right? Paying for that. Where am I cutting things? Where am I what am I doing, right? So, I made the decision to stop teaching, right? So, here's some of the ways that you can set it up, right? Again, here you have like the addressing of the committee members, right? My name is Yukio. I live in West Hartford. I'm here to share my stories and experiences around childcare. It's an important issue to me and my family because, right, um, I can't afford it, right? And my family's economic growth kind of gets busted, right? And then you get to the story of us, right? And building that sense of shared values and struggles with that audience that you're talking to. Um, how is this experience that I have shared with others in the community, right? This is an opportunity really to like pull back and show how it's not just you, but there's a whole bunch of other parents that are facing this challenge of the expense of childcare, and they might have to make the decision to stop working. They might not be able to make rent. They might not be able to, right, pay for insurance if they stop working. All sorts of impact. How does this issue, right, affect children, families, seniors, underrepresented groups in your communities as a whole? What is this story of us that we're trying to tell? This is also a great place to provide data, right? We also need to include, on top of our personal stories, some of this data for the collective, right? Like however many percent of families across Connecticut are facing the pressures of really expensive childcare, right? And showing again that it's not just a me problem, but it's a problem faced by a lot of other folks. And then ultimately, the story, um, right. So this is, you can also here like include additional stories from your community. So it could be a story of another friend or another educator that's struggling with childcare and paying for it, and including data and other facts, right? And then the story of now, right? Why is this an urgent issue, right? What is it that you as a constituent would like the legislators and the people in these decision-making circles, what action do you want them to take, right? Are you also providing other solutions or recommendations? And why? Why is it urgent to act now in this session, in this moment? Right? So those are the different stages and sections of your storytelling. Right? I'm asking you to support whatever bill that addresses childcare, right? This legislation will, right, improve the number of childcare facilities, cutting costs in these ways, then I will be able to access it, right? Additionally, if you have other recommendations or solutions included here, right? Some folks on the committee may not even have to think about childcare right now. They might have grown kids, right? And childcare 20 years ago doesn't look the same as childcare in 2025, right? So this is where you can provide the context for now and the recommendations for now. And then thanking them for their time and consideration. And if they want to reach out to you, right, they can, right? Um, how do we feel about those different sections? Story of self, story of us, and story of now. Laura, I see your heart. You want to tell me a little bit more?
Well, one, it's bringing back memories of a long, long time ago, providing testimony for expanding the Katie Beckett waiver. But it really builds education for legislators. There's a lot of misunderstanding and misconceptions, and just making that connection to the legislators and also back to the community and how it affects the community and how the improvements, if you're for it or if you're against it, why, you wouldn't want something expanded or a bill passed, how it affects their constituents. And that's all important information. It's one thing to understand a bill or something in publication we want passed, but it's another thing understanding how it impacts the community. So.
Right. Thank you. And Veronica, I saw you had, I think, a heart up too. Did you want to share?
Okay, so now my camera's really dark. Can you see me?
Yes, we can see you.
So I loved all of it. I haven't personally had to testify, you know, regarding a bill, but I love the format of how you can share your story, and it to help keep everyone on track. So that's why I gave it a heart, because it felt like it was doable.
Yeah, right. Because sometimes so much stuff is swirling in your head,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, how
Mm-hmm.
do I get it all down? How are they going to hear me? How are they going to understand
Right.
my, trials?
And sometimes you
Michelle,
get too emotional, but when I love the piece where you said you can insert data here,
yes,
to impact your story, that it's not
yes,
just your experience, but others' experiences. And I went right to my cell phone when you said that. So I looked up data on sickle cell.
yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah,
You're
and Mary,
welcome.
yes, and in 3 minutes.
Oh, right. Forgot about that.
Yeah, you gotta get it in all in 3 minutes. Michelle, I see that you've come off camera.
Yes, I have my gremlins all in the living room, so I'm trying not to I apologize, but it was incredibly well done. It was just very concise. It's to the point. It really keeps people on track for really knowing exactly what we're looking for, what the purpose is, what the goals are. It's an outline. It's like a working outline for us when we're really coming down to the point of, oh my gosh, we have to get up in front of these people, or oh my gosh, this is something that's going to be on public record, or oh my, there's all this pressure already involved. So to have it be such a great, just a breakdown, just such a great breakdown. So I love it. I think it's great, and you should put that somewhere big so everybody can see it. Share it with
I
absolutely
mean,
everybody. So I think it's awesome. Yeah, really nice.
public hearings are already in full swing, so
Yeah.
let's go. Right? Um, anyone else? So Mary, yes, structure. Structure, it's nice to have. I always enjoyed when a teacher told me, okay, write a 5-paragraph essay. And I'm like, okay, right? Because you have the intro and your 3 body and then your conclusion. I'm like, I can follow that. I can follow that. So yeah, and so here are some other tips for your storytelling, and for showing up at, right, the public hearing. So come prepared, especially if you are doing your testimony verbally in person or on Zoom, right? Make sure you write it out, practice it out loud so that it can delivered in 3 minutes or less, right? And there was that comment about, what if I chicken out? So if you're giving verbal testimony, come with a friend or a group. You have, right, people there with you, because some of these stories you might share are really emotional and really personal to you. Um, you might need a tissue, right? And if it's a really long line to testify, you might need some snacks and water as well, right? As you're waiting. And really just set your own timer for 3 minutes so that you're not relying on someone else to suddenly shout, your time is up, right? And you are in control with your phone and you can tell, right, how much time you have left. So, and other things like, right, sometimes a legislator may ask a follow-up question after your verbal testimony. Um, answer what you can and what you know. If you don't know, right, it's okay to say, you know what, I don't have the answer to that right now, but I can email you, right? I will send you a follow-up, right? If you can't answer in the moment. And finally, dream big. Right? You get to bring the listeners along on this journey that you've had in your storytelling, right? And you get to share that ending, that ultimate ending that you want to see. And if you put it out into the world, if you have them visualize it, right? Who knows? They might take that path with you, right? So always dream big. You don't make the shots that you don't take. So this is your opportunity to really showcase that big dream and like all your hopes and dreams, right? So it's really important, that storytelling. Anything that you're sitting with right now? Are you feeling like maybe next week, if there is some opportunity, you would like to submit written testimony? Do you feel comfortable? Okay, Michelle says feeling prepared. Yeah. Are you feeling like you're more open to trying these things? A little bit of demystifying the process. All right. I plan to view committee hearings Yeah. Yeah, to help you prepare. Yes, you could definitely do that. Yeah, and you can watch it all on YouTube. Writing is the hardest part. Um, and maybe it's even just starting from like using talk to text and just doing a verbal download, right, of all the things that you want to say, and then picking from there on what you write. There's different ways. Rosemary, I see that you've come off.
I just want to mention, because I noticed today the housing committee is still going on. It started at 11 this morning. It is still going on. And I did notice that there were several people that came and provided their testimony in Spanish, and I know we have Spanish speakers here. So you could always do your testimony in Spanish, and if you have an interpreter that could come with you, that would be great. Because they will give them that time to also translate, because they need it for the transcript. So I did notice that today.
Thank you. And there's also, I'm gonna go back to the website, but there is a spot here on the Connecticut General Assembly's like website where you go all the way to the right. There is a tab for accessibility, and you can request assistance. And yes, while it is couched under the ADA, this the Office of Legislative Management has shared that if you need language interpretation, this is a spot where you can ask for it. So here's the interpreting services for things like American Sign Language, tactile. I don't know what CART stands for. You can, also ask for assistive listening devices. But here you can input the language that you would like to see, interpretation in. So you can request it this way. I don't know that they can always, depending on the timing of things, that, they can always find someone to be an interpreter. But this is yet another place where you can, request different services for when you come to the legislative office buildings. Do they not provide interpreters at the LOB? I think you have to actively ask. They don't have them like hanging out in the waiting room. I think for the special education, um, listening sessions, they did have Spanish and Portuguese, but it was really hard to understand, if they would be at every session or if not. And I think some folks were able to access the interpretation, but I think it was a little hard to communicate that with the larger community that yes, there are interpreters available. So thank you. Oh, communication access real-time translation. Okay, thank you. Live real-time captioning. Oh, I learn new things every day. Thank you. All right. Okay. So then for those of you that are still in this space, we can use a little bit of time to use a Padlet, and you can even start brainstorming a little bit some of the issues that you're interested in. And so I'm going to share my screen. It's a link to the Padlet in the chat. And for those of you that are on a computer, you'll see this plus sign at the bottom right of your screen. And if you click on that, right, you can write something incredible. So you could say, okay, my story of myself. Why is this issue important to me? You can start brainstorming and hit publish and then put it wherever you need to so that you can really just start figuring out what is my story? What is the story of the community, and what is the story of now and the actions we want people to take? Right? So I'm going to come off screen. And you can, I think it's all anonymous. You don't have to write your name. My name just happens to pop up because I'm the owner of this Padlet. But if you want to start just writing some stuff down, getting it out there. Is it about education? Is it about nutrition? Is it about housing? Right? What is it that you are looking to impact?
Yukio, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
So since you mentioned that the testimony becomes part of Connecticut history, so it's public and it's there forever. Is there like a general rule that people can follow about providing too much personal information, not enough? For instance, naming very specific details. And I'm thinking especially like of our special education families, like something that comes to mind for me is not naming specific students or teachers.
Right.
So I don't know if you have any other recommendations around that.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And yeah, so I think, well, what's the point of that though, right? Like, what are you trying to get at by naming specific names? Like, you're here to provide a story, in support of something or recommending different things. I think you can do the storytelling without like naming names, because you're right, it is going to be public record. Um, so yeah, and like if kids are if your kids are underage, right, you don't necessarily want to put their names out on blast either. If you are talking about, some of your kids. So yeah, just be careful around what you want out in the world. And it could be, if you're trying to if you have experience with like a certain school district, I think you can name the district because that's the community that you're in, right? Um, but I would be very careful about different names. And I think, right, what does that do to the story? Does it take from the story? Does it add to the story? Right? What's the point of it? So, that's a really good question. I don't know, Denise and Rosemary, if you have any other insights, but I would be careful, I think, in really thinking about what is the story that I want to tell, right? What is my big dream in the end that I want people to take action on?
Yeah, I just think that I would, you could write your story without being specific with names, and I would leave names out. I personally would. I'd figure out a way just to write it, to
Mm-hmm.
have my story come across, but without the details of names.
Yeah.
I
Any other
agree.
questions?
I agree.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosemary. Any other questions or comments? And I'll share the PowerPoint with folks so that you have the information about storytelling or how a bill becomes a law, um, at the very basic level.
Yukio, it's Veronica. I have a
Hi.
question, and
Yep.
and you may have addressed this, but just blame it on my age. Um, will we receive like a handout at the end of the session with just the building your story? Is it like a template, or is it what you have in the PowerPoint?
That's a
Because
great question. If you
I'm
would,
thinking a handout would be good.
sure, I could create a handout with just the storytelling part.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I can see what I can create. Yes, but using the content of the story of self,
right.
us, and now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm,
Yep.
mm-hmm.